Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets rousing welcome as he arrives in London on a 2-day visit to the United Kingdom. Will hold wide-ranging discussions with his counterpart, Keir Starmer, on entire gamut of bilateral relations. Russia-Ukraine agreed to exchange 1,200 prisoners from each side in the latest round of talks in Istanbul. Kyiv proposes Zelensky-Putin talks in August. Two sides still far apart on ceasefire and key issues. US approves $322 million in weapons sales to Ukraine to enhance its air defense capabilities. Latest proposed military sale follows another announced in May for F-16 training and sustainment. Beijing hosts the 25th EU-China summit to mark the 50th anniversary of the establishment of EU-China bilateral ties. Trade, global geopolitical challenges and climate change on the agenda. EU leaders also to meet President Xi Jinping. In sports, rising chess star Divya Desmukh makes history, becomes the first Indian to reach the final of the FIDE Women's Chess World Cup, beats Tan Zhongyi of China in the semis. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in the United Kingdom on Wednesday in the first leg of his two-nation visit. During his 2-day visit to the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Modi will hold discussions with his counterpart, Keir Starmer. The two leaders will have the opportunity to further enhance economic partnership aimed at fostering prosperity, growth and job creations in both the countries. Prime Minister Modi will also call on King Charles III. This is Prime Minister's 4th visit to the United Kingdom since assuming office. He has previously visited the United Kingdom in 2015 and 2018, and he was there in 2021 for the COP26 summit in Glasgow. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was welcomed and greeted by members of the Indian diaspora in London during his ongoing visit to the United Kingdom. Prime Minister Modi received a grand welcome from the Indian diaspora. He also interacted with the members of the diaspora. The Indians in the United Kingdom expressed joy and admiration after meeting Prime Minister, calling the moment surreal and emotionally overwhelming. Sharing pictures on social media platform X, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that he is touched by the warm welcome from the Indian community in the United Kingdom. Prime Minister said their affection and the passion towards India's progress is truly heartening. In another post, Prime Minister Modi stated that his UK visit will go a long way in advancing the economic partnership between the two nations. He said the focus of his visit will be on furthering prosperity, growth and boosting job creation for the people of the two nations. Prime Minister Modi further added that a strong India-UK friendship is essential for global progress. A large contingent of the 1.8 million strong Indian diaspora has gathered to greet Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his 4th visit to the United Kingdom. DD India's Gautam Roy spoke to them about what sort of expectations and affinity has brought them to see the Prime Minister, shake his hand or have a word with India's leader since 2014. Take a look.
It was cultural performances galore when Prime Minister Modi reached the UK for the fourth time, and from all four corners of the country, cultural performances, traditional folk dances, classical dances greeted him, and we're with a bunch of these dancers here. Let's just talk to them as well. How is it performing in front of Prime Minister Modi?
Very, very excited, very happy, and I felt like I'm seeing the God in form of Modi ji.
It was lifetime experience for us. It was honor for us to represent Bihar.
We have come from Bihar, Mithila state, and very, very proud to represent our
That's a Madhubani painting.
painting, yes.
Lovely. Even I'm from Bihar. And how did it go for you?
This is Odisha, state of Odisha. We are really proud to represent, and we are so happy to showcase the Odisha society in the UK and all my beautiful dancers and the team patronage. We are really proud. Thank you so much. Just can't believe that we could really see Modi ji with real eyes. So we are very excited.
How are you feeling today when you performed in front of the Prime Minister?
It was such an exhilarating moment for us, for the whole Indian diaspora, representatives of different states, getting this opportunity to meet him at this nearest and him being so close to us. So that was really a wonderful moment.
And what did you perform for the Prime Minister?
We performed the Bharatanatyam classical.
We also have some performers here who, of course, perhaps are from the home state of Prime Minister Modi. How did it go today? What kind of performance did you do for the Prime Minister?
We did Garba, which is a traditional dance from Gujarat, and we are all from Rhythm Performing Arts, UK.
So there you have it. That's the kind of sentiment that has brought people from all corners of the UK who are of Indian origin to the place where Prime Minister Modi has arrived for the fourth time in the UK to greet him, to share their appreciation for what he's doing for building upon the relationship that India and the UK already have and taking it to newer heights with an FTA, which is going to be a landmark as far as ties between India and UK are concerned. With camera person Sanjay Jera, Gautam Roy in London for DD India.
Correspondent Gautam Roy also spoke to the UK winners of Bharat Ko Janiye or Know About India contest held by India's Ministry of External Affairs worldwide, who also got to greet Prime Minister Narendra Modi upon his arrival in London. Let's take a look.
A very enthusiastic contingent of the Indian diaspora, 1.8 million strong, has greeted Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his arrival in the UK for the fourth time. And among them were the winners of this contest that was held here, Bharat Ko Janiye, which is Know About India. And he's met all of them, and we have some of them with us. And with him is also Nick, who's among the winners, and he's got a +91 number. Namaskar, how are you?
I do have a +91 number. I live in India, but I'm very proud to be here in England with all these wonderful winners. And I was lucky enough to be a winner myself. I managed to get the questions right, despite being British. I have a deep love and affection for India and read everything I can.
Congratulations. So how was it meeting the Prime Minister of India?
It's a great honour. I've met
him earlier as well.
Several times over the years, but to meet him in Britain is a first for me, and it's fantastic to see him here with this incredible welcome.
Congratulations to you as well. How was it meeting Prime Minister Modi, and how was the contest?
It's a wonderful atmosphere here, I have to say. It's so vibrant and so full of energy. So that's been the best part of the evening. The quiz, I think, was fantastic in understanding a lot more about India. So many facts, so many nuances about India. So it's been a great journey to actually be a part of the contest.
And I see you holding that up, so you're among the winners yourself. What can you tell us about the contest and the experience of meeting Prime Minister Modi?
I think it's one of the brilliant things. You get to know your country. It is very important for people like us who have left India and come. It's a very good way of staying in touch with our country. And especially when the PM visits you, it's amazing feeling, you know.
I'm glad that I came to this place. The High Commission of India gave us this opportunity, and I'm proud of being an Indian, and like Modi ji as a leader of a country. I think that's the best thing that could have ever happened to our country.
Did you have any sort of an exchange with the Prime Minister?
We shook hands, so I think that was amazing to just have, you know, be there in his aura. I think it was amazing. It is a moment that I think I will carry with me throughout.
Wonderful. So there you have it. That's the kind of sentiment that all the people in the Indian diaspora have, and these are some of the people who have gone away from the country but they won a contest where they've answered questions about India, and they have come out trumps, and that is the kind of sentiment that keeps them connected with their homeland, and that is what has brought them here to greet Prime Minister Modi upon his arrival to the UK for the 4th time, where this visit holds a huge amount of promise for both the countries. With camera person Sanjay Jana, Gautam Roy, London, DD India.
According to a recent business report, 42% of surveyed UK companies with zero presence in India now want to invest there by the next 2 years. UK's Aurora Group, a multi-billion GBP corporation with hotel, construction and real estate businesses, is also among them. DD India's Gautam Roy spoke with Aurora Group founder and chairman Surendra Arora on this subject. Take a look.
The Indian diaspora in the UK is 1.8 million strong, and over the years, especially since 2014, it's seen how perception about India has also changed in the UK, and that has been led to a large extent by Prime Minister Modi, his 4th visit now taking place to this country. And we have with us Surendra Arora. He's the founder and chairman of the Aurora Group, which is almost a conglomerate here in the UK, in the hotels business, into construction as well as real estate. Thank you for speaking to us, Mr. Arora. What can you tell us about this? What is your perception about the FTA in the first place, that India and the UK are going to exchange, are in fact exchanging? Do you feel that it will lead to the kind of promise that this relationship always held, which could be fulfilled now?
I think we're all very excited about this agreement, and it's great news for the UK and wonderful news for India, because the two countries have always had close links. And lately, especially since the financial crisis in 2008, and when things have been tough for everyone around the world, I think it's absolutely amazing that the UK and India on the deal, and Prime Minister Modi coming here for this very special occasion. Being a proud Indian, I think is fantastic. It's great news.
According to a survey, the companies in UK that do not have a presence in India, 42% of them are saying that they want to have a position in India in the next 2 years. The ones that do, more than 90% of them say they will build upon that position. So where does the Aurora Group stand on that?
So I'm actually one of those 42% that we don't actually have currently any business interest in India. Although being a true Indian, I was born in India. I was in India until I was 13. And that's something now suddenly we're all waking up and saying, look at India, look at the growth rate, look what Prime Minister Modi has done and achieved, and the way things and the GDP and the growth rate is phenomenal compared to the rest of the world. So this is something we will be looking at.
You believe in Make in India now?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's something I've always...
Any plans?
We'll be looking at opportunities. Absolutely, that's something I think it'll be an opportunity not to be missed. And and I do say whenever I'm talking to my colleagues, my friends, my business people here in the UK, that we should see what a great example since Prime Minister Modi took over. And if we see the growth rate in India, if you look at the infrastructure, if you look at the airports, if you look at now, people in the Western world all talk about, I want to do business in India.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking to us. So there you have it. A message, a strong message will also be sent out with that FTA between India and UK, that India is the place to do business. That's what a lot of companies in the UK, including Mr. Arora's, will be looking to do from here on once that FTA is done and dusted. This is Gautam Roy with camera person Shubham Srivastav, London, DD India.
India and the UK are set to exchange an over 2,000 pages long trade agreement document during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's UK visit on Thursday. DD India's Gautam Roy has sent us this report from London, taking a deeper look into such trade pacts which have been of tremendous benefit to India so far.
In the changing dynamics of global trade, one term frequently comes up: FTA, or Free Trade Agreement. What is this agreement? How does it boost the economies of nations? And which countries has India signed such agreements with? Let's explain in detail. An FTA is a trade agreement between two or more countries. There's reduction in customs duties, relaxations in trade regulations, concessions on tariffs for goods and services. These include topics like intellectual property, investment, and government procurement. Under a free trade agreement, two countries or more agree to reduce tariffs or customs duties on each other's products and services, eliminate non-tariff barriers, and facilitate easier access to each other's markets. FTAs make trade more competitive, boost exports, attract investments, and rapidly create jobs. So far, India has entered into FTAs with several countries and organizations, including the 10-country organization ASEAN, Japan, Korea, Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, Australia, UAE, Mauritius, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, European Group EFTA, which includes Norway, Switzerland, Iceland, and Liechtenstein. India currently has over 15 active FTAs or comprehensive trade agreements through which it has expanded its export reach in international markets. These agreements have significantly helped India's MSME sector grow and provide global recognition to the services sector, particularly IT, education, and healthcare. The benefits of India's FTAs are clearly reflected in the numbers. 90% of India's exports to the UAE became duty-free, including textiles, gems, and pharmaceuticals. A 12% increase in India's exports to the UAE has been registered in the first year itself. A 25% rise in FDI inflows to India has taken place due to the Australia Agreement. A 15% increase in India's textile exports to ASEAN countries has also been achieved post the FTA. Agricultural exports have grown, boosting rural incomes. Duty reductions on sugar and tea in Mauritius increased agricultural exports. India benefits from technology and knowledge transfer. The Australian government has been highly beneficial for green energy, and standardization and certification of Indian products in European countries has become simpler. In summary, an FTA is not just a trade agreement, it's a strategic partnership that bridges diplomacy, economics, and national interests. Gautam Roy's report, London, DD India.
You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, stay with us as we tell you ahead about all the legislative business lined up for both the houses of Parliament today. Special medical staff from India equipped with necessary medical support arrive in Dhaka to treat burn victims of the jet crash. EU moves closer to US trade agreement that envisages 15% tariffs. Let's get to updates from the Parliament now. On the fourth day of a month-long session of Indian Parliament, the Upper House will take up the Carriage of Goods by Sea Bill 2025 for consideration and passage. The bill will provide for the responsibilities, liabilities, rights and immunities attached to carriers with respect to the carriage of goods by sea and for matters connected therewith or related thereto as passed by Lok Sabha be taken into consideration. The Coastal Shipping Bill 2025 will also be taken up for consideration and passage. The bill to consolidate and amend the law relating to regulation of coastal shipping, promote coastal trade and encourage domestic participation. The lower house of the Parliament will discuss the readjustment of representation of scheduled tribes in assembly constituencies of the state of Goa Bill 2024. The Merchant Shipping Bill 2024 will also be discussed in the House to consolidate and amend the law relating to merchant shipping to ensure compliance with India's obligation. Meanwhile, the centre and the opposition hit out at each other on Wednesday over the issue of special intensive revision electoral rolls in Bihar. Both the houses were adjourned for the day following sloganeering by the opposition on the matter. This deadlock comes after the first 2 days of the session witnessed a stormy parliament, indicating the opposition's approach. The Centre for Joint Warfare Studies, the Tri-Services think tank under Headquarters Integrated Defence Staff, is organising a 2-day national seminar on India's maritime vision in New Delhi. The 2-day seminar is aligned with the vision of a whole-of-nation approach, bringing together strategic, cultural and developmental stakeholders to explore India's evolving maritime narrative. The event reflects the synergy of defence, diplomacy, academia, industry and cultural institutions a hallmark of comprehensive national power in the making. The seminar is designed to explore India's maritime journey from its ancient seafaring traditions and historical port networks to contemporary maritime challenges and opportunities in the Indo-Pacific. The seminar directly contributes to the national goal of achieving Viksit Bharat by 2047 as envisioned by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. India's aspiration to become a global maritime powerhouse by its centenary year of independence hinges on integrated thinking, sustained policy engagement and civil-military academic collaboration. India's Defence Secretary Rajesh Kumar Singh held a bilateral meeting with Director General Israel Ministry of Defence Major General Amir Bahram in New Delhi on Wednesday. The two sides agreed to further strengthen bilateral defence cooperation with a long-term perspective. They concurred to work towards developing an institutional framework for further deepening of defence ties. The Israel DG condemned the terrorist attack in Pahalgam and conveyed full support for India's fight against terrorism. Defence Secretary reiterated India's zero-tolerance approach to terrorism and condemned the October 7, 2023 terrorist attacks in Israel and called for the release of all hostages. The two sides also reviewed the progress of the ongoing defence collaboration activities since last joint working group meeting held in July 2024 in India. A team of burn specialists and nurses equipped with necessary medical support from India arrived in Dhaka on Wednesday night to treat the burn victims of the jet crash. The specialized team consists of doctors and nurses from Ram Manohar Lohia Hospital and Safdarjung Hospital in Delhi, which are the two top hospitals in India specializing in burns and plastic surgery. The team will assist in the treatment of victims of Monday's aircraft crash. They will make an assessment of the condition of patients with recommendation for further treatment and specialized care in India as necessary. Indian High Commission in Dhaka said the additional medical teams may also follow depending on their preliminary assessment and treatment. Earlier on July 21st, Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed condolences at the loss of lives in the tragic air crash in Dhaka and conveyed assurances of support and assistance. EU leaders arrived in Beijing early on Thursday for the 25th China-European Union Summit, a meeting coinciding with the 50th anniversary of the establishment of China-EU diplomatic ties. President of the European Council, Antonio Costa, and President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, representing the EU, will meet Chinese President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Keqiang. Marking the 50th anniversary of the establishment of EU-China bilateral relations, the summit will be an opportunity to engage with China at the highest level and to underline the importance of the EU attaches to a fair and balanced relationship with China. The focus of the summit will be the state of bilateral relations and global geopolitical challenges, including Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. The leaders will discuss ways of ensuring a more balanced, reciprocal and mutually beneficial trade relationship, as well as areas of shared interest such as climate change, biodiversity and advancing the green transition. The EU will also advocate the need to protect and uphold multilateralism and the rules-based international order. All right, DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us to get us more. Akshay, we've seen the EU leaders present in China for participating in the 25th EU-China summit. But this visit comes at a time when the world is witnessing various geopolitical changes, when the world is witnessing financial uncertainty. They're witnessing two, conflicts in West Asia and in Europe, the Ukraine conflict, and also the threat of US tariffs. Put all this together, to what extent will these factors have a bearing on the discussions that will take place at the summit?
Well, Preeti, good question. And in fact, as far as these geopolitical events are concerned, these are perhaps primary reason why such a large scale summit is taking place between the two powerhouses. Now, both Beijing and European Union have had trade relations for centuries. They have historic trade relations as well. But as far as in the modern world, when it comes to the trade ties between the two economic powerhouses, it hasn't been utilized to the potential that it has, and that has been the sentiment not only in Beijing but in European Union as well. That fact has come to a realization in the presidentship of Donald Trump, especially because the kind of tariffs and the kind of trade wars that are taking place, the unpredictability of the nature of even the US top leadership. Given the fact that presidents will keep on coming in, going, there will be different people coming in with different ideologies. But what Donald Trump has done, the kind of shake-up that he has given, not only the European Union but the world, it has in fact opened eyes for a lot of people. And now it seems that even European Union is more inclined to balance its trade between other global economies in the world. For example, it is amplifying or rather enhancing its trade with China, with India, with other rising economic powerhouses, while reducing its dependency on the US. And that perhaps the reason why this summit is of immense importance, given the fact that other trade tensions still continue, and they're unlikely to go anytime soon. And that is the reason why even Xi Jinping is going to meet the chief of the European Union during this summit. Now that is going to be a landmark. A meeting between the two economic powerhouses can actually amp up the trade between the two blocs.
All right, Akshay, help us also understand how is China positioned at this time when it meets the leaders from the US, because China somewhat has, if I would say, it believes it successfully to some extent weathered the US tariff crisis because of its emboldened and tough stance. Having said that, it comes to talks with the EU at present after having tackled the US challenge. How do you see this posturing of China? To what extent this will also help it put itself in front of Europe? At this and at the same time, given the harsh sanctions and the trade restrictions, the sanctions which Europe is facing from the US, Europe is also looking forward to enhancing its ties with the other countries. So put all this together, to what extent is this opportunity for both the sides, to come together, put against the US?
Well, China is very well, equipped to stand against the US on its own, given the fact that it is still a much faster growing economy than the US. It's slated to take over US in a few years. And when it comes to the GDP, in terms of per capita purchasing power parity, it's already overtaken US when it comes to the market is concerned. And as far as the US share is there in the Chinese export market, it's about 15% only. So China can very well replace the US when it comes to trade. It has to find newer alternative. It has to change, yes, a lot of things when it comes to the way it conducts business, the way it has been leading countries into debt trap. All of these things have to be sorted first for China to become a trusted trade ally, because that is one problem that remains with China. But it seems that all of these events are taking place, and at that point, at a point where China is quite aggressively moving, even or rather taking on the tariff threats by the Trump administration. It is in fact looking for more potential buyers, more potential markets, and it seems that if European Union drifts away further from the US, it is going to be a big benefit to Beijing when it comes to trade between the two blocs.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those details and that analysis. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, Columbia University reaches $200 million settlement with Trump administration over anti-Semitism allegations. White House denies Trump named in Epstein documents amid mounting pressure for transparency. UN's top court declares climate action a legal duty, boosting hopes for vulnerable nations.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook at the top stories now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets rousing welcome as he arrives in London on a two-day visit to the United Kingdom. Will hold wide-ranging discussions with his counterpart Keir Starmer on entire gamut of bilateral relations. Russia-Ukraine agreed to exchange 1,200 prisoners from each side in the latest round of talks in Istanbul. Kyiv proposes Zelensky-Putin talks in August. Two sides still far apart on ceasefire and key issues. US approves $322 million in weapons sales to Ukraine to enhance its air defense capabilities. Latest proposed military sale follows another announced in May for F-16 training and sustainment. Beijing hosts the 25th EU-China summit to mark the 50th anniversary of the establishment of EU-China bilateral ties. Trade, global geopolitical challenges and climate change on the agenda. EU leaders also to meet President Xi Jinping. In sports, rising chess star Divya Desmukh makes history, becomes the first Indian to reach the final of the FIDE Women's Chess World Cup, beats Tan Zhongyi of China in the semis. United States and European officials signaled progress in tariff talks on Wednesday after US President Donald Trump announced a pact with Japan and China, said its vice premier would attend the bilateral negotiations next week. In an attempt to slash his country's trade deficits, Trump has vowed to hit dozens of countries with punitive tariff hikes if they do not hammer out a pact with Washington by 1st of August. Trump said that the United States was in the process of completing a trade deal with China and would be setting straight tariffs for most of the rest of the world.
In the process of completing our deal with China. And as you know, the UK, we made a deal. It was a very good deal for everybody, but mostly we'll be charging straight tariffs to most of the rest of the world because we have over 200 countries and we're making deals with various Asian countries that need it. And it's actually hard to believe, you don't think of it, but Asia is very close to Alaska, relatively speaking. It's not the closest, but it is pretty much the closest when it comes to oil and gas and energy, and we're making some incredible deals.
Washington has so far unveiled just 5 agreements, including with Japan and the Philippines. The others are with Britain, Vietnam and Indonesia. Negotiations remain ongoing with major US trading partners China, Canada, Mexico and the European Union. Several EU diplomats added that the bloc was examining a US proposal involving a 15% tariff and sectoral carve-outs still to be decided. EU Trade Chief Marko Stefkovic was expected to speak with US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick on Wednesday. Separately, representatives from China and the United States will meet next week in the Swedish capital Stockholm to further take forward the negotiations before an August 12 deadline agreed in May. Let's get you updates on Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Kyiv on Wednesday proposed direct talks between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in August. Russian and Ukrainian negotiators met in Istanbul on Wednesday for their first peace talks in more than 7 weeks, with Moscow under pressure from the US President Trump to strike a deal or face tough new sanctions. Turkey, the host country, urged steps towards a lasting ceasefire and peace deal, but Moscow tempered expectations for progress at a new round of discussions. Kyiv had proposed to hold the talks by the end of August, with US President Donald Trump and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan also participating.
Number one is to organize a meeting of the leaders of presidents, where participation of President Trump and Erdogan will be most valuable. A real ceasefire and end to all strikes on civilian infrastructure. This can be a crucial first steps towards lasting peace. We propose to the Russian side to hold such a meeting of leaders until the end of August. By agreeing to this proposal, Russia can clearly demonstrate its constructive approach to everyone around the world, including our partners. Ukraine keeps insisting on a full and unconditional ceasefire as the necessary basis for effective diplomacy.
Meanwhile, Russia received a new group prisoner of war from Ukraine soon after the end of the latest round of peace talks. The Russian Defense Ministry published videos showing men in uniform cheering as the boarded buses at an undisclosed location in Belarus, believed to be close to the Ukrainian border. Over 1,000 Ukrainian prisoners of war also returned from Russia late on Wednesday. Both countries earlier agreed to exchange 1,200 prisoners of war each, and Moscow offered Kyiv the bodies of 3,000 killed soldiers. The United States has announced the approval of $322 million in arms sales to bolster Ukraine's air defenses and its armored combat vehicles. The potential sales include $172 million for Hawk Phase 3 air defense systems, covering maintenance, trucks, spare parts, repairs and training. Additionally, $150 million is allocated for Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, along with their repair and technical support. The announcement comes after Washington temporarily halted some weapon shipments to Ukraine earlier this month, even as Kyiv faced heavy Russian missile and drone attacks. President Trump then made an abrupt change in posture, pledging publicly earlier this month to continue to send weapons to Ukraine. U.S. President Donald Trump also touted a recent deal between the U.S. and NATO, whereby European allies would purchase weapons and send them to Ukraine as it fights Russia.
They're going to pay the United States of America 100% of the cost of all military equipment. They're going to ship it to the European Union, and then they'll distribute it, and much of it will go to Ukraine. It's been a long time since you've heard those words, because we're in for $350 billion, but now we send it to Europe and Europe pays. And
Columbia University has reached a deal with U.S. President Donald Trump's administration over federal funding. In a statement, the university said it will pay a $200 million fine over 3 years to settle allegations that it failed to do enough to stop the harassment of Jewish students on the campus. The announcement came one day after the university disciplined dozens of students over pro-Palestinian protests on the campus. In March, the Trump administration cancelled grants and contracts worth about $400 million for the Ivy League school because of what it described as anti-Semitic harassment on and near the school's New York City campus. The White House has pushed back against reports that President Donald Trump is among hundreds of people whose names appear in Justice Department documents relating to the late pedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. The White House spokesman said that claims were nothing more than the continuation of the fake news stories concocted by the Democrats and the liberal media. It comes as a U.S. judge denied the Justice Department's bid to unseal material relating to Epstein from court proceedings in Florida. The Trump administration has been under mounting pressure to release more information about the well-connected sex offender. While campaigning last year, Trump had promised to release Epstein files. The Wall Street Journal reported that Trump's name appeared with many others, including other high-profile figures, in files held by the Justice Department. All right, in news just coming in, Thailand's military has deployed an F-16 fighter jet against Cambodia's armed forces on Thursday as weeks of tension over a border dispute escalated into clashes that have killed at least 2 civilians and injured 2 others. The skirmishes came after Thailand recalled its ambassador to Cambodia late on Wednesday and said that it would expel Cambodia's envoy in Bangkok after a second Thai soldier in the space of a week lost a limb due to a landmine that Bangkok alleged had been laid recently in the disputed area. For more than a century, Thailand and Cambodia have contested sovereignty at various undemarcated points along their 817 kilometers land border, which has led to skirmishes over several years and at least a dozen deaths, including during a week-long exchange of artillery in 2011. Tensions were reignited in May following the killing of a Cambodian soldier during a brief exchange of gunfire, which escalated into a full-blown diplomatic crisis and now has triggered armed clashes. All right, our correspondent Ravi Dhiman joins us to get us more. Ravi, help us understand the situation better. How severe or grave is the situation? Because this is not for the first time that such tension along the border has been witnessed. But given the way Thailand's military has deployed an F-16 fighter jet against Cambodia's armed forces, help us understand how severe or grave is the situation at present.
Obviously, Preeti, the situation has escalated because the clashes now, the use of fighter jets by Thailand. Obviously, that's an escalatory tactic employed by the Thailand army and military. According to what we are getting reports from Reuters, they've already made first contact, and one of the F-16 fighter jets has targeted a military installation across, in the disputed area. So that's really some sort of an escalation that we are observing here on Cambodia and Thailand border. And the skirmishes have been continuing for past few days, especially with Thailand accusing Cambodia of placing, landmines in the disputed area, which is patrolled by armies of both the countries. Recently, a Thailand soldier lost his leg as he stepped on a landmine, which Thailand accused the Cambodians to have laid in recent days. Cambodia obviously denies it. So they have a very long 817-kilometer border, and tested at various points because both the sides have claimed territory as their own sub points. So these have been going on. It's a long dispute that they have, but the escalation is something new, and use of F-16 is clearly a signal by Thailand that they think that things have really escalated to a level that they had to use the Air Force to retaliate against Cambodia.
All right, Ravi, both Thailand and Cambodia have shut the borders. They have expelled the diplomats, and we see the tensions rise. You did briefly mention about the, the cause of tensions between the two countries. For the benefit of our viewers, get us a quick background on what sparked these tensions. What is the bone of contention between the two countries?
As I said, they have a very long border of 817 kilometers. And that border is not clearly demarcated. They have certain claims on certain territories that both nations claim as theirs. And there have been, skirmishes in the past also. There was an exchange of artillery for as long as an entire week in 2011. And on and off, there have been tensions mounting in these areas. But the real trigger for this skirmish, this exchange of fire, was a landmine which exploded when Thailand Army's patrolling unit stepped over it, resulting in some injuries to the soldiers. And ever since that, the diplomatic efforts have failed, and both the countries seem to be in an escalatory mode. Thailand has recalled its ambassador to Cambodia and has threatened on Wednesday that it will expel Cambodia's ambassador as well. And it has been going on for some time. We remember that Thailand's former prime minister was forced to resign when a phone call between her and Cambodia's prime minister was leaked by Cambodia, in which she was, appear to pander to the Cambodian prime minister, and also denigrate her own military commander, and that was leaked by the Cambodian side. That led to her resignation and some sort of political turmoil in Thailand. So there's not really very good relations between the two neighbors, sort of bonhomie that is expected,
right.
But relations have been going on.
All right, Ravi, we leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. So that was our correspondent Ravi telling us more on the news just coming in on the skirmishes between Thailand and Cambodia at the border. We'll keep you updated. Meanwhile, let's turn focus to other updates. The United Nations highest court on Wednesday said that countries must address the urgent and existential threat of climate change by cooperating to curb emissions, as it delivered an opinion set to determine future environmental litigation. The International Court of Justice said Failure by countries to meet their climate obligations could, in specific cases, lead other states affected by climate change to litigate.
In the current context, because of the seriousness of the threat posed by climate change, the standard of due diligence to be applied in preparing NDCs is stringent. This means that each party has to do its utmost to ensure that the NDCs it puts forward represent its highest possible ambition in order to realize the objectives of the agreement.
The opinion by the International Court of Justice, also known as the World Court, was immediately welcomed by environmental groups. Legal experts said it was a victory for small island and low-lying states that had asked the court to clarify states' responsibilities. Vanuatu's climate change minister, Ralph Regenvano, said that the opinion marked a milestone for climate action.
So today it's been a landmark milestone for climate action, the discourse on climate change, and it's very important course correction in this critically important time. For the first time in history, the ICJ has spoken directly about the biggest threat facing humanity, which is climate change. And I want to note that the decision was unanimous. Today's ruling, I'm sure, will also inspire new cases where victims around the world in a legal sense realize that they can claim their rights and seek accountability.
You're watching DD in the News Hour. We're heading for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India News Hour. Up next, we'll talk of sports. We'll talk of chess first. India's rising chess star Divya Desmukh scripted history on Wednesday by becoming the first Indian to reach the final of the prestigious FIDE Women's World Cup, currently underway in Georgia. The 19-year-old stunned the chess world by defeating former world champion and current world number 4 Tan Zhonghe of China in the semi-final. With this victory, the 19-year-old not only secures a spot in the final of the prestigious event, but also earns a coveted Grandmaster norm and qualifies for the next Women's Candidates Tournament, a major step forward in her career. The second finalist will be decided on Thursday in a high-stakes playoff between India's Koneru Hampi and China's Li Tingye, setting up the possibility of an all-Indian final. Earlier, Hampi created history by becoming the first ever Indian woman to reach the semi-finals of the tournament. From chess on to cricket now, half-centuries from left-hand batters Sai Sudarshan and Yashasvi Jaiswal took India to a total of 264 for 4 at the end of the first test of the fourth test against England on Wednesday at Old Trafford in Manchester. Earlier in the day, England elected to bat first. In fact, elected to field first after winning the toss. Jaiswal completed 1,000 runs against England alone with his 12th 50, while KL Rahul became the 5th batter to complete 1,000 runs in England from India, joining the elite company of Sunil Gavaskar, Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar and Virat Kohli. All right, ED India's Narayan Singh joins us to get us more. Narayan, when we talk of the play yesterday, 264 for 4 was India's score. Is it in a good position to have a strong, footing in the match, because it's a do-or-die match that India is playing with England, the fourth test?
Preeti, as you mentioned, an important match for India because in this match they need to win because here if they lose the match, the series will be lost. As you mentioned, the test match, the way the India started, not losing a single wicket in the first session, we can say that a fantastic start by them. But after that, India lost few wickets, especially. I think the test match currently poised. We can't say that is in England's favor or India's favor, but the injury to the Rishabh Pant, I think it's a big setback for the Indian team because we know that Rishabh Pant is a very important part of this setup. In the previous matches also, he played very important innings for the India. And in the past also, he played very important innings. Because of those innings, India won some important matches overseas, whether it is Australia or England. And here also his presence is very important for the Indian team because he was looking very, we can say that, poised at the crease, and he also scored 1 6 and 2 4s. But the ball of Chris Woakes directly hit his right toe, and definitely after that, in attempt to hit the reverse sweep, he got injured. So the report of the scans is still we are waiting for, and let's see what's the quantum of the injury. We are hoping that he will again come to bat. He will again bat for the India. But the conditions, we can say that right now, the way India started the innings and giving a chance again to Sai Sudarshan, it's a good thing because we know that what kind of player Sai Sudarshan is, the most technically sound batsman. Here right now, if we take a look, his hand-eye coordination is fantastic. His toe and his head are on the line where he's playing the shots. It shows that he's very important. And if you take a look, first time after since Border Gavaskar Trophy, he is the first batsman after Border Gavaskar series to score a 50 run at the number 3. And we know that number 3 position is a very, we can say that like a conundrum for the team India. Since Border Gavaskar Trophy, India tested 5 batters there. We saw Devdutt Padikkal in the first test match in Australia in Perth. He was there in the absence of Shubman Gill. Then again, Shubman Gill came that at the number 3. And after that, KL Rahul also came. So here we can say that India finally got a solution for the number 3, that is Sai Sudarshan, and it's a good sign for the Indian cricket also. If we take a look, overall India played fantastically well yesterday, not losing a wicket in the first session. I will say that it was a big achievement for the Indian team. And today, how the match pans out, it remains to be seen. And England will eye quick wickets of the Indian team, but India here from at least India should make 150-70 runs to we can say that in driver's seat in this match.
All right, Narayan, we'll leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details and that analysis. And former table tennis player Achanta Sharat Kamal feels that National Sports Governance Bill is a fantastic start for India for the 2036 Olympics bid. In an exclusive interaction with DD India correspondent Suchitra, he said that the bill will help all stakeholders and everyone will have more clarity.
Indian sportspersons are really excited about the National Sports Governance Bill, and we have with us experienced table tennis player Achanta Sharat Kamal. Achanta, how do you look at National Sports Governance Bill and how excited you are about the bill?
I think it's a fantastic start for our India's bid for the 2036 Olympic Games. I think this is the right direction. We set the tone for the upcoming players. And not just the players, I think the different stakeholders that are involved into sport, because sport is becoming an important field in today's time, where India especially wants to slowly get into the position of being a superpower in the world sporting map. So I think this policy will help all of us, not just the athletes, but the federation, the government, the players, the sponsors, corporates, everybody, all the stakeholders, different stakeholders who are involved in the field of sport, have more clarity in how things have to move forward from the grassroots level to the high performance level, and especially in terms of the governance and the transparency that is brought about in this bill.
What do you have to say about the National Sports Tribunal? The sports person will now have one-point solution for their issues related to selection or any sort of problems that they face.
Yes, I think for most of the time the athlete's voice is many times not heard. It's lost in many different situations in the country. So I think the tribunal will help the athlete voice out his requests to the federation, to the government, to people involved in the field of sport, in that particular sport, and where the decisions will be made immediately.
What do you have to say how this bill will help shaping India as a sports superpower?
Again, most of the best countries in the world who are strong in sport have this kind of policy or this kind of a bill in their country, which helps them govern their sporting bodies. So I think it's very, very important that this bill comes up, and when actually we're looking at the 2036 Olympic Games to be happening in India, I think this is the right direction, with taking into consideration the way Indian sport is growing, taking into consideration how the International Olympic Committee is looking upon the Indian scenario around. So I think this bill gives us a lot more clarity in setting our goals towards 2036 Olympic Games and making sure that India is winning more and more medals at the Olympic Games.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
All right, with that, we end this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.